What's up, guys? I'm Matt Reisinger.
Mark Willie.
You guys may not know Mark. He's normally behind the camera as our build show producer. But what do you got for us today, Mark?
So in front of us we have, well, I'm not going to tell them. Let's make sure they watch the video to find out.
New products. Grab some popcorn. This is going to be a good one. Let's get going. Ah, loose screws on the job site. What a pain, right, Mark?
Everywhere.
So collated. We've been using collated in residential a lot on wood-to-wood connections, but if you're a steel stud carpenter, you probably know this company already. This is called Grabber Construction Products. The rep stopped by the other day and showed us this brand new gun. And check this out. It fits on a Makita or a DeWalt. Pretty straightforward to drop this unit onto the gun, and it just kind of collars over. And then they're making these collated screws in all kinds of different sizes, including both light gauge and heavy gauge steel, right, Mark?
Yeah, all the way 16 to, 20 to 25 for the light, 14 to 20 for the heavy gauge.
14 gauge, that's serious business. That's really heavy. And if you're not familiar with this company, grabberpro.com is a website. Tons of drywall products, solutions for anybody doing acoustical or steel to steel connections. A lot of really cool stuff, including a lot of the tools you might need on the job site as well. Tilt carts that you're going to use for dumping materials on the job site, scaffolding products, all that sort of thing. Grabberpro.com for more. Okay, Mark, next up, a product from Si3 Tile.com. Our mutual friend, who is a rep for another company, moved over here. And to be honest, when I first heard about this, I was like, I don't know about this. But she sent us samples, and I got to say, it's pretty interesting. So what you're looking at here, Mark, is a tile alternative.
Yep.
So, I mean, could you tell this wasn't ceramic if you just looked at a small sample of this?
I toured the facility. I toured a couple commercial spaces, and I toured about 8 townhomes.
Okay. With this installed?
They were all installed. We're looking at this before it's installed. So right now you can tell it's not tile, right? Because we have this nice sheet format. But the difference is all these spots we're seeing, this is labor friendly. So why am I saying that? Well, now you could get your unsanded grout. Now you come in here and you grout this. When that's done, this is tile.
It really looks like tile.
It does.
So it's actually a PVC sheet. So this is, if you look at it, it's, I don't know, less than a 1/4 inch thick. Full PVC, glossy on one side. Here's a Subway, here's a herringbone. They've got some gray colors as well. And you actually glue this to the substrate, and that could be, let's say, drywall on a backsplash on new construction in a kitchen. Or it could actually be existing tile, which really is fascinating.
It's incredible because not just the backsplash format, but now you have this for your mud rooms and your full tub and shower formats, right? It just looks like the nice rectangular Subway fashion. I mean, that looks like shiny Subway tile.
It really does.
But everything is in alignment. How often do we see that?
Yeah, pretty interesting. And I suspect labor is pretty quick. And I don't know material pricing. You're going to have to look that up for yourselves, y'all. But this has got to be less than ceramic tile installed, right?
Yeah.
I just can't imagine. Now, I don't know if I would do this on one of my custom homes, but if you're watching this and you want a new backsplash for the kitchen, and maybe that's the Christmas present for your wife this year, I think you could knock this out really quickly, not have to take the existing tile off. This is a pretty interesting product.
Yeah. They also have an opportunity to put logos and whatnot in here. So this pattern is the pattern we're seeing. However, I think when you go to some trade shows later on next year,
There'll be some new things from these guys.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Si3Tile.com to learn more. All right, Mark, next up, the DM32X, brand new from our friends at Retrotec. As if the nerdier couldn't get any more nerdy, we've got a new control system for my blower door that I have. So, Mark, there's a bunch of new stuff here, but honestly, I think instead of talking about this controller, we should step back a second and say, builders should own a blower door. I did a bunch of research when I got mine, and for sure, the easiest one for kind of a stupid builder like me to buy and understand was Retrotec, because everything on the gauge is kind of built in. There's videos, there's instructions. It's like a manual that kind of walks you through the setup. Now, this new controller is even better on that front. Yes, it's got Gorilla Glass and it's got better Bluetooth and some other kind of points. But I think the cool thing about this company in particular is they have great training and that everything is really easy to set up so that even a dorky builder like me can do it, because ultimately a blower door does you no good if it's sitting back at the shop. What would you add to that, Mark?
We could actually narrow this down to less than a 6-hour video. So it's a digital manometer starting there. But whether you're doing the blower door testing or the duct blaster testing, everything is right here. So it has the quick guides, it has the manuals. So if you're a seasoned energy rater, it's all right here.
Yep.
If you're trying to dial it in and run through it, you could watch a video right here. Things are color coded. It makes it so simple. They call it one gauge, one world. And this thing updates really great. We just saw it at the last conference.
Yeah, we did.
And
they gave us a quick tour of this particular unit and gave us a display here to feature. But I think the ultimate thing that I want to relay to you guys, my pro builder audience, is that you should own a blower door. And when I started actually measuring my houses at multiple times, it enabled me to kind of dial in, what is the problem? Where's my air leakage coming from? Is it this set of windows, which are kind of standard windows? Is it the fact that this detail wasn't done correctly? Is it penetrations? Where's that air leakage coming from? And if you own your own door, it's no big deal to set it up and let it run for 2 or 3 hours, which I'm doing at all my jobs at various points of construction so I can see where those problems are.
I'm just looking at the videos. We have the tubing connections, right? We have the settings, the navigations, multi-part. It gets down to pressure bias, seeking the target pressure. It's talking to the cloud, has it all set there. Retrotec really upped their game for all of us.
It's a great company. So retrotec.com. The last thing I would tell you is they've got an email address, sales@retrotec.com. I would reach out to them if you're a builder and say, hey, look, I want to not only buy a unit, but I want to attend some training from a live person. Where could I do that? They didn't ask me to say this. I don't know if they'll respond, but I suspect if you're a builder and you reach out to them, you want to buy the product and get trained, they're going to set you up with that. So retrotec.com. Next up, Mark, a prefab company called B.PUBLIC sent us a sample of their wall assembly. You actually know these guys, right?
Yeah, Charlotte, Edie, and Jonah. They're located in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Okay.
And for years, they were having their walls built by different partners all over the place. Now they're also producing those walls very close by in New Mexico.
And shipping out to builders kind of throughout that kind of south and west area, or throughout the whole U.S.?
They're going far. They have a great project in North Carolina coming up, and we got to see the one in Colorado.
Okay, so I've done some prefab walls before with Benson wood.
Right.
And in fact, my first house with Benson wood was 2014, when I'd never seen a prefab wall before. I'd only done stick construction prior, where we get a pile of sticks dropped off. This kind of construction blew my mind a little bit. And at the time, Benson wood was doing something real similar, where they were building their walls pre-insulated, pre-assembled, air barrier in the inside and the outside. I didn't really know what that meant 10 years ago, but this is a similar setup with some different materials.
So that's the progression of our industry. When we started, we were doing 2x4 walls. Then we were doing 2x6 walls. Then we were doing 2x8 walls. This is a 2x6 wall.
Okay.
And you're looking at it, and no one believes it, but they have the added I-joist on there that's giving us the depth.
Okay, so if we could take this whole wall apart and see what was in here, it's a 2x6 for structure, and then an I-joist, which makes up this full 10-inch depth, because the depth of a full wall assembly is 10 inches. And they're saying this is a true R35 thermally broken.
Yep, the effective values is what they're talking there, because most of their clients, just like yours, are looking for results. So this performance that they're measuring is a modeled performance that they're getting the R35.
Yep.
So what are the added benefits? This is fun, huh? So right here is the air barrier. Not many people have seen this, Matt.
Yeah, so this is interior framing that's flat framed and added to the panel. So it's actually screwing through the air barrier, keeping that air barrier consistent, but then giving you a channel that you can run electrical inside the air barrier. So in other words, the drywall is not our air barrier anymore. This membrane is right here.
This way, years to come, right? When people are changing pictures, when they're putting something on the wall, this is still protected. So that electrical box will be in there, and if there's a penetration to the outside, that's a really easy tape fix.
Yeah.
When you're putting that in and out, you are not going to adjust the control layer. You want that control layer protected.
I like how they ship out these job site signs that are saying, hey, don't drill. Imagine this house is a balloon floating above shark-infested waters. If you penetrate that balloon, it's going to fall in. You are going to die from a shark bite. So just a great point that, just like my friend Jake says, anytime we drill through a air barrier, we should only put one thing through there and then we should seal it. So in other words, if we're drilling electrical wire, just one wire, drill it through and seal it. By the way, this has solid sheathing on, this is the outside wall here, and then the air barrier on the inside. And so they're showing best practices where we're going to put a rain screen and let's say a nice fiber cement hardy cladding on the outside.
The hardy's going to be there to last. It's got that nice drainage back there. And this WRB, when the panels are set, now we just have a tape joint. And we have a tape joint. So when the conditions are bad, imagine that on a job site, right?
Never.
You're covered. And boy, if that isn't the easiest setup right there, sounds durable.
Yeah. You know, Mark, you and I were at a job site in Colorado where these were going on. How about we cut to a quick 90-second video that I put on social that would kind of show these guys what this would look like. Let's cut to that right now. Oh, baby, some prefab panels here in Colorado with my buddy Mark. Mark, what are we looking at here?
Oh, Matt, you're going to love this. So they're flying in panels as we speak. We're looking at the prefabricated wall panels, and people want to know what's the insulation value. The insulation value is an R52.
Holy cow, look how thick that wall is, Mark.
So somewhere inside of here, Matt, they'll place the window, right?
Yep.
But the nice thing is how these panels are configured with the insulation and the WRBs, no thermal bridges.
That's pretty awesome. So this is B.PUBLIC, is the name of the panel manufacturer. And Mark, I'm seeing this airtight vapor open membrane, vapor retarder membrane on the inside. And where the panels come together, you're going to tape this for air sealing, right?
Correct. And then they'll run strapping across here, and that'll feed the electric. So when the drywall is placed on it, now there's no penetration to the air barrier.
Got it. So in other words, there'll be some flat framing like what you're seeing on this roof here to run electrical. But this is an R80 ceiling panel, isn't it?
That's right.
Holy cow.
R80, it's already insulated, already has a WRB, already has the air control layer, already has the strapping mat.
Makes it easy for a builder on the job site. They're just running the trades on the inside, setting their windows, and they've got an airtight, impressive assembly. B.PUBLIC, thanks for the tour today. All right, so now that you saw what it looks like on the job site, quick shout out to these guys for sending us the mock-up. You can go to their website at bpublicprefab.com to learn more. Okay, Mark, new from Sugastune. You know, these guys put me on the map with YouTube. I did my first hidden door with some Sugastune concealed hinges back in like 2010. By the way, if you check out that video, I look really dorky. I think I'm the only man who looks better in his 50s than he did in his 30s. But I had a bowl cut and some really bad pants. But I realized early on that hidden doors were cool. And since then, I've had a lot of requests for hidden doors. Speaking of which, they have a new hidden door product.
The HGSD S160 SH.
That is a mouthful, but what it means is this is a stainless version of the hinges that I've used a lot. So now if you've got a more harsh environment, or you frankly just like the look of stainless on your job, check those out. That is a really nice piece of hardware right there.
So there's some nice rounded corner, but they also make a square screw cover, right?
Yep.
As well as another option. So this is the rounded one. But just to have that option there, and these things are so quiet and their operation really extends.
Yeah, two of the things I like about them, Mark, there's adjustment set screws on here. So after the door is in place, we can adjust that door a little bit, in, out, up, down, right, left adjustments. And this is actually a hinge. Let's see if the stainless one does it, that we can take off. I think I need to take this screw off here, and we can take it off the hinge. Try that on a barrel concealed hinge. You're not going to do it, but these are really cool. It includes the stainless fasteners as well. And next, I want to tell you about another new product that they're thinking about bringing to the States. You know, this is a Japanese company. They've got lots of cool hardware in Japan. They've got this door that they're calling the HES1. Pardon me, it's not a door. It's hardware for a concealed door. It's a thin frame concealed hinge. It's not available yet in the States, but they're going to have it on display at KBIS. And speaking of KBIS, I'm going to be at the Sugastune booth talking about hidden doors. I'd love to meet you. I'll put a link in the description for the Sugastune website. So when we get the date and time nailed down, if you're going to the IBS show, remember the KBIS show is right next door. So I'll be at the Sugastune booth. All right, next up, guys, Quickflash. You've seen us use these in lots of build shows in the past. This is basically a flashing boot that's intended for your walls to make a gasketed type effect like you would have for a plumbing penetration on your roof. Mark, where are you seeing these being used?
This is a great application, right? One thing, one hole, right? Yep. So it might be a small hole, but this is handling it, and it's prepared call out.
And a particularly new product for these guys that I hadn't seen before is this, that's specifically intended for the Arlington inbox. This is a recessed electrical box that I really like because it doesn't have that big ugly bubble cover on the front. I use these all over my house under construction. And check this out, this new boot from these guys is specifically intended to waterproof and air seal this at the sheathing level. The only issue with these inboxes though, however, is this may penetrate into your air barrier, and there's some holes, some knockout boxes, which you could tape over, of course, for air tightness, and that'd be a great solution. But if you've got a wire sticking through here, another option might be this new product, which is spray foam insulation from Seal Spray Foam. Standard type can that you would see in any kind of insulation can. One part closed cell foam, single component. You got to shake it up. But check it out. They include a tip on here that I'd never seen before, which is a fan tip. So you actually drop this fan tip onto your spray nozzle here, or pardon me, onto your foam gun, and now it comes out in a fan spray, kind of like a mini spray rig. So that would be a perfect solution to air sealing and insulating the back of this box. Let's say if you're using rock wool in the rest of the house, or you've got some other insulation strategy. Now we can kind of spray that around. Whereas the standard tip would just put a bead on here, which is really hard to air seal with just a bead of spray foam.
Smart thinking.
Good stuff. Quickflash. Learn more about these at quickflashproducts.com. Hey y'all, at my house, I've got an old product that now there's a new product version of. These are the Airex Titan outlets. This happens to be the TGS model that I used, intended for a siding install. But you know what? They make this now in a two-piece retrofit. It's the TRS model. I mentioned this in a video a couple months ago, and I probably mentioned it too early. They didn't have stock everywhere. They've been making these things on 2 shifts. They're made in California, family-owned company. They make a lot of cool products. I used the TRS, or pardon me, the TGS here, but had this been a remodel, the pipes are already in place, they were connected. I could have retrofitted this now with the TRS, so that's a really cool new product from Airex. All right, Mark, next up, InSoFast. You actually introduced me to this company on that really cool container build in San Antonio you toured me through.
Yeah, whether you're using it for containers or maybe a basement job, right? It's solving so many things pretty simply.
Yeah, so I had a full video here at the studio with the founder, genius guy who invented all these products. But he told me something about this product in particular that I'm not sure I got it on the video, but I wanted to express it to you guys. This is their 2-inch flat panel, which can be used in all kinds of scenarios. But he specifically mentioned to me something that I thought was genius. This could be used, and I think was originally invented, to warm up and insulate your basement floor. But you know, our friend Steve Basic has this detail that I use at my house where we put insulation down, then we do 2 layers of subfloor that floats over top of the insulation. And he said, you know what you could do, Matt, instead is you could glue these panels down to the concrete, so they're attached. And then you've got this, gosh, what is this? Polycarbonate, I believe, kind of stud that's built into these panels.
Built-in framing.
And that stud goes all the way through, right? So this would be your glue channel that would glue it to the concrete. And then he said, Matt, why don't you, instead of doing 2 layers, just do 1 layer of subfloor. And in fact, he said in a lot of basements, he's done just standard 1/2-inch OSB over top of this, screws it right into this stud, and then boom, you're done. And I've not done that before, so I can't speak from personal experience, but based on how stiff these are, I think it would work just fine. And man, that would be a really inexpensive way to get an insulated slab, an insulated basement, all from these InSoFast panels.
And on your outside walls, if we're picturing that on the outside wall, this is where your drywall gets hung.
That's right.
Right?
Yep.
So it is thermally broken.
Mm-hmm.
Most people, when they're insulating, aren't thinking about that. But this is your framing and insulation all in one.
Yeah, pretty awesome.
How fast does it go in, Matt?
I mean, look to me like it goes in lickety-split pretty quick.
So fast.
InSoFast.com. Last thing I'm going to mention, on that video that I published with them a couple weeks ago, a lot of good comments, but one of the comments that really resonated with me was they loved how you could buy it online, fully transparent on pricing. I know that you guys are frustrated sometimes that I don't know full pricing, or I can't tell you the company's end price because they got to go through distribution or whatever. But InSoFast, you can buy direct right on the website. You can go right there today and figure out pricing. InSoFast.com. All right, Mark, next up, the door stud. Have you ever seen these being used before on a job site?
Pretty impressive.
I use these at my house. Patrick, my German carpenter, used these for the first time. Picked it up like that. It's a really interesting product. Show me how easy it is to move that 1.75-inch door around. I mean, it's really straightforward. I could see a carpenter who is not in his 20s anymore and doesn't want to carry that weight of that door around, this being really nice. Pre-hung or slab doors, if you're retrofitting, this would be, I don't know how you could retrofit without this. Pre-hung, I could certainly see installing without it. Retrofit, total game changer. Now, they made a couple updates. They've got 2 sizes, the standard size and the heavy size. The standard size, about $300. And this will do an 1 3/8 to an 1 3/4 door, so kind of the normal door sizes, up to about 300 pounds. One change they've made is this infinite spacer system. So you can put spacer blocks in here, and before you drop your door down into this cradle, this can be moved in or out to size the door. So if you have some odd size door, or frankly, you're using this to move some other material on the job, that would work really well. And then Mark, you've got the heavy duty size. What is that one for?
Yeah, the heavy duty one, this one starts at the 1 3/4, progresses to 2 1/4, but the benefit is with those thick heavy doors, they could go up to 400 pounds. The door stud can too.
Yeah, and one correction though, you could use that on a thinner door because of that infinite spacer, but ultimately this is for your bigger doors, right? This one's about $100 more, around $400. There's a bunch of BFS locations that stock these that you could buy them right off the shelf. You could also buy them from the DoorSt.com, and there's also a listing, so other retail locations over there, the DoorSt.com. Next up on the new products list, a big ERV HRV. I like the size of this already. It probably means it's pretty efficient. This is the Brink FLAIR 400. Did I say that right?
That's right. And this has been used for 40 years in Europe. So North America continues to get these products. But they've been tried, tested, and used in tight buildings all over Europe.
Now, the big deal about this one is it's recently got PHI certified. That's Passive House Institute certification, which really just means this is a very high performance product. And from what I read on the data sheet on this, Mark, it looks like it's about 92% efficient on sensible recovery. And when I was looking at their data, they have a great little line that says, you know, you could open a window for fresh air, certainly, but if it's 0 degrees outside, that air is going to be really darn cold coming into your house. And in Texas, where I am, it's going to bring with it a lot of pollen, a lot of nasty stuff, depending on the time of year. But you always want fresh air. On the other hand, a unit like this that's 92% efficient, it's going to recover 92% of that heat from the exhausted air, because this is a balanced ventilation system, meaning it's always extracting some air and it's always supplying some air. Now, Mark, I put a competitive system in my house, and the thing that I liked about that system was that it had all the ductwork for it. It wasn't just, hey, integrate this box into your duct system.
Right.
And it looks like the Brink guys are doing the same thing.
Yep, this is where we need the market to go. We need to have these solutions because it's not just the opening of the window, it's those contaminants outside. So this thing is running in our tight buildings
24/7.
And there's a filter system here, right?
Yeah, and this is something that I think separates the men from the boys when it comes to ERVs and HRVs. I've seen a lot of ERVs that have a teeny little dust filter that just, I think, gosh, in Texas, that would get overrun with contaminants very quickly. This appears to be a nice high MERV. This one in particular looks like it still has some European data on here, so I don't know what the MERV rating is. But just looking at this filter, this is a legit pleated media filter that's actually going to take the pollen and the nasty stuff out of the incoming air, which I like to see.
Recently, we were out in Colorado and you made a video of a house that had this.
Yeah,
right?
Chuck Bauer had this going in his house, didn't he?
Yep, and they suffered from extreme fires, right? And so that air quality you need to watch out for. We heard these running. These are very quiet. In fact, we had a house full of people. We didn't even realize it was on.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Where can people learn more about these or buy these?
475 Supply.
Okay, so 475.supply to learn more about this. Thanks, Mark. All right, Mark, next up, Titan Building Products makes these really cool kits to do a straightforward rail install. Have you ever seen a product like this before?
They call it the screw, snap, and lock. It seems easier than anything I've tried.
That's pretty simple. So it's a, by the way, all North American made. This is a Canadian company. Source everything from America and Canada. Aluminum rods, and they've got this basically plastic part that screws down into your 2x4 top and bottom rail. Slide that in, snap it down, boom, you're done. Obviously super easy on new construction, but Mark, this would also make a fantastic retrofit.
Oh, you say you've got a 6-inch spacing you were just talking about, right?
Yeah, my in-laws a couple years ago bought a house with a 2nd-story deck. The railing all had 6-inch picket spacing, and I had young babies at the house and thought, gosh, my kids are gonna fall to their death through that not legal spacing anymore. I'm sure when they built the house originally it was legal. So we had to go through a bunch of rigmarole to change that. But this would have made that super easy. Sawzall off all those pickets, put these back in, done. The other thing I like about this, Mark, is I dare say the word DIY. We're not DIYers here on the Build Show, we're pros, but this really makes for a pretty easy install.
Even in the pro community, you do your center spacing and you realize that post wasn't exactly where you thought it was.
Right.
Small adjustments, your spacing holds true.
That's a great point.
Pre-finished, saves you a lot of time.
Yeah, this is a good product. You can learn more. Oh, one last thing I want to mention, by the way. This was invented by the owner of the company, Richard. Richard was a deck builder and was looking for a better way to do things. So this is kind of cool. This is a small business based in Canada. Richard, the founder and the inventor, still owns the company. Lots of good solutions. You can learn more about the product and where to buy it at titanbp.com. Mark and I got a chance to go to the FIAS conference in Houston last week. How about we show these guys some of that footage? What should we show them?
Let's just show it.
All right, let's roll.
Check out the sweet Inotech display. Mike, my buddy from Inotech, built this. He's showing 2 layers of exterior insulation here. Outboard of the framing, and they've got mineral wool, rock wool in the cavity. But here's a detail I've never seen before, which makes a lot of sense. This is a piece of plywood that's embedded between the outside and the inside layers. And the entire purpose of this is to support the weight of the window, which is mid-cavity, right? If this window is out over insulation, there's nothing to support it. So this plywood right here and up here at the top too gives support level. Now the window itself is going to have straps. I don't think they're visible in here. I've installed some Inotechs before. They have a strap that goes in this little channel right here and then is actually screwed into the framing right here. But that is giving support for the window. So now you can have a giant amount of exterior insulation. And speaking of Inotech, this window is Passive House certified and built in Vancouver, British Columbia. Triple glazed, but there's a bunch of secret sauce in here with aerogel and some GPS foam in some various places, which makes this window a U factor of, I can't get it open with one hand, U factor of 0.10. So this is an R10 window from Inotech. Isn't that cool? UPVC R10. Really cool display by Mike at Inotech. I like this. We're at FIASCon 2024. Check it out, guys. This is a Miniter all-in-one unit for low load passive house type units, or this could be used in a bigger house as well. What this fresh air unit is doing is this unit can heat, cool, dehumidify, and provide fresh air for a house or a small apartment all in one. So for instance, if you're building passive house, like there's a couple buildings that have these Minitairs going in them, this unit right here might be 500 to 600 square feet. And because the insulation levels are so high and the air tightness is so good, this doesn't need a lot of heating or cooling, but it does need fresh air. It might need a little bit of cooling or a little bit of heat. It also needs potentially a little bit of dehumidifying. This all-in-one solution can do that. And there's no outdoor unit as well. Here's the big filter. It's going to filter that fresh air coming in. And when the air exhausts back to the outside, like a typical ERV, it's running that air through the coil. So this unit can actually be providing 9,000 BTUs of heating, flip it, 9,000 BTUs of cooling, and it can dehumidify. So it's actually in cooling mode right now, and you can see it's dripping water into this pan. It's dehumidifying and cooling. So this airstream, which would be going to the house, is cool, and this airstream, which is going to the outside, is picking up the heat off the condenser and dumping that air to the outside. Absolutely a mind-blowing piece of equipment. Minotair. Timber HP booth. If you don't know this company, this is a relatively new company. And I've got Jason, the head nerd, if I don't mind calling you that. Us nerds can call each other that.
Absolutely.
Jason, what is Timber HP?
Timber HP is a startup company that's got just a few years under its belt. We're producing the first dry process wood fiber insulation. We've got a blown-in fiber as a loose fill.
So this is actually wood.
It's wood, yeah.
It's been turned into an insulation because it's trapping air, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
wood also has an insulation value.
We're treating it as well, so it's fire resistant, it's bug resistant, although we're really not promoting it as that.
Sure, sure.
Everyone says fire, bugs, and water, and we've addressed that like you would with cellulose insulation.
That's awesome. So we've addressed fire, bugs, and water, and you've already got on the market now this loose fill that we can put into attics, into walls, into ceilings or floors. This is basically like a blown type product.
Yes.
And in the not too distant future, you're actually going to have exterior sheet elements as well. And this is basically wood fiber that's been compressed and has some type of glue in it, such that it is very stiff, but actually provides our 3 point something per inch, right?
Exactly, depending on the densities we land, and we're going to have variations in that.
Mark, big thanks for putting all this together for me.
This was a lot of fun. I tell you, these brands are solving problems all over the place, and I can't imagine a better video.
Yeah, it was really fun. You know what? Before we close this out, for all the pros that are still hanging on at this stage, grab that Sashco kit for me, will you? Is that right here somewhere?
Let's do it.
So if you don't know already, we've been friends with Sashco now for a long time. I started using Big Stretch like 15 years ago. And they've got a sample deal with Build Show Pros only. So if you're a DIYer or a CFO or an engineer watching this, this is not your sample kit. But if you're a pro like us, they will send you a sample kit just like this that has one tube of everything in their entire channel, because they know that once you try it, you're going to stick with it. Anything else you want to add on that, Mark?
It's a whole lot to come in one box.
Yeah.
And they don't run out. So as many people as have that ask for these, they're going to keep sending them.
Yeah, and this is like $80 a product. Like I said, a full-size tube. So if you're a pro, we'll put a link in the description below for the Build Show Sashco sample box. Full-size tubes of everything in their catalog, because they know that once you try it, you're going to stick with it. I've had really good results with all their products. Family-owned company, making it right in Denver. So this is a really big deal to get a free sample of everything in their catalog. With that being said, guys, go follow Mark on Instagram. He's our producer. He's out there looking at cool stuff all the time. He's got a giant Instagram feed. He's always publishing from all the cool things that he gets to go to. And if you've got a new product for us that we don't know about, I'll put an email link below and our address so you could send that to us or email that to us. We're always interested in what's new and cool out there in the building world. With that being said, guys, follow us on TikTok or Instagram. Otherwise, we'll see you next time on The Build Show.